some people are saying some things. And it's what people do. People talk. They're supposed to talk about you. They're supposed to talk about you. You are the light of the world. So they're supposed to, and I know there's a lot of things, and I hear, I don't engage, but I hear there's a lot online and all of that kind of stuff. And I just want to say to you, as beautifully, personally, my lovely wife Kathryn would echo this and say it much better, we're not offended. We're not angry, actually. We love those people. And they loved us until they didn't. We're not angry. And so here's my imploring to you. Please don't be angry on our behalf. God is doing something too precious here for us to allow that to get into it. If we could, and we can't because our services are always streamed, we'd tell you how God has been gracious to us every single day for a year and a half, how he speaks in his word, how he strengthens our heart. This has been the greatest gift that anyone has ever given to us. And I don't want to say that too loudly, because if they knew that, they'd take it back. But this is, the Bible is true. You're blessed. You're blessed when people insult you. It's actually true. And I always believed it was true, but I had no opportunity to prove its truth. You forgive me, I'm starting to get happy. But it's all true. It's all true. Like, you're going to get absolutely mullered out there. You're going to get hammered. You're going to be like lambs among wolves. Like, it's all true. You're like, I could never do that. And that's because you're not yet there yet, and you don't know how good the shepherd is in those moments. He's really good in those moments. Like, he shows himself in ways that you could not begin to believe or imagine. And he puts a root in you that's like, see what I did in you? All those years you wondered if you were close or even knew me. Now look at how you respond when the darkness comes. For the light shines in the darkness, but the darkness has not, will not, cannot overcome it. And blessed are you who are persecuted, as my friend just shouted. So I want to encourage you, please don't be offended by odds. Pray. Pray for our church. Pray that the Lord's presence that's here would increase, because we only get two fires we can choose. I would hate in this moment for us to pick up the cold of the enemy. It's so easy to pick up. Are we all there? It's so easy to pick it up, isn't it? It's so easy to pick it up. But please don't, and certainly not on our behalf, or in Jeremy or Katie's. They would say the same. Don't pick it up on their behalf. Continue to be who you are. People of his presence, called by his Spirit, of great grace. The Lord has many works. I am sounding like a guru now. Let me just do this. The Lord has many works for you in the future. There are many things that he's called you to. There are nations that he's sending you to. There are things that you'll see that you wish you could unsee. There are things that will happen that you wish would not happen. But God's grace will sanctify you for those places, and he will cause you to be in them a light of righteousness. Not that you must have your own way, or things must be the way that you see them, or that you need to be right. But you're going to walk into places, and because you have not harbored hostility in your heart, you'll be able to carry kingdom hope. And if you do not harbor hostility, you'll have hope. But if you harbor hostility, hope will leave. You've got to put down the ducky. So why don't you turn to your neighbor as we close? We're going to pray together. Why don't you turn to your neighbor and just say, put down the ducky. It's not even that attractive, a ducky. It's quite ugly. It's quite ugly. And I really am. All we've done today is a little bit of an introduction there, guys. But I'm just so excited for this over the next coming weeks. I'm so excited for all the Lord would do. Oh, and I forgot saying that other thing where I was talking about a moment ago. Please pray for those people who are doing those things and writing those things and saying those things. Pray for them. Like pray. Here's how we pray. Kathryn, would you come? And again, we have to be careful in this, but because our goal here is not to antagonize people viewing. But here's how we pray. I'll tell you how I pray, and Kathryn will tell you how she prays. I started off by praying something like this. Oh God, please make it stop. Please make it stop. And then I prayed, ow, 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 ow. And I prayed that for a long time. And I prayed, God, don't you see? Don't you care? Prayed that. Started to pray, God, I forgive them, but don't you forgive them. Right? That's a biblical response, right? Make room for God's wrath. That's what mercy does. It's like, I'm letting them off the hook, I'm putting them on your hook. Right? So I started to pray that. Then I found myself in a moment of weakness praying, God, would you forgive them? And he had me then. He had me then. I was annoyed at him. I was like Jonah. I was like, I knew you would have mercy on them. I knew you. I know what you're like, and I know you would do this. I'm talking here the first few months, like 3-4 months. And then I came to a place where I can pray joyously. God, don't hold back any blessing from them. Give them everything you have for them. May your kingdom come upon them. Heal their hearts, cleanse their wounds, open their eyes. You can begin to pray that way. And now I'm in a place where I say to the Lord regularly, Lord, I don't need this to stop. I just want you to know I don't need it to stop. But I pray for those who would be hurt by it. But I don't need this to stop. To be good. Your peace is with us. And I don't need them to stop not to love them. Is this all a bit too personal? Is this okay? I think part of this series, I want to model to you at a moment when there is a bit of media around this, I want to model how do you walk through offense? And there's no point in us teaching it in 5 years ago and saying, do you remember in 5 years from now? And saying, do you remember 5 years ago things were a little tricky and that was a great time to do that. And so that's how we pray in that. And Kathryn prays a little differently. You want to share? I mean, you probably pray similarly, but you're just way more generous. And
Can I say that bit that I saw at the beginning?
yeah.
Last year, whenever it felt like the world had turned upside down, the Lord spoke very clearly to me. And so the way that I've been able to pray is because of the Lord's kindness and his instruction. And so he just said at the very, very beginning, he said, Kathryn, things are about to get very painful for you. And so here's what I want you to do. Every word that you say in public, every word that you say in private, even in our own bedroom with each other, every word you write down in your journal, every prayer that you pray, and every thought that you entertain. So not everything that goes through your head, but you know what I mean by that, when you catch a thought and you're like, I shall chew upon you for a while. He said, what I want you to do is I want you to take every one of those and I want you to bring them as your offering of worship. And guys, that was the kindest thing that Jesus could ever have said to me, because it's allowed me to grieve this past year, but not take offense, because it's worship. So you get to pour out the depth of pain to the Lord, but it's worship. So you get to tell him how much you love him and how much you love them. And he gets to give you a heart of compassion, and you get to see things differently. It allows you to process pain without ever taking up offense. And as Alan said this morning, it's not that it isn't right there. You can. But what it takes away from us is too much. And I just have this, and I have had this whole past year, just the Lord, since he named us dwelling place, I just saw him take his hand like you would in the dirt when you want to plant something. And he just kept doing this in the dirt until it was all clean and clear, so that he could make a planting of his own here. And as then things have come along, you realize, oh gosh, if I take offense here or I don't forgive, I go and I mess up the place where he wants to plant. And it's just too costly. The Lord himself is choosing this as one of his places that he loves to stay. And I just don't want any of that old stuff to get in the way. I want him to come and make his home here and stay.
Thank you, Kathryn. Yeah. So the other side of things that I pray and we pray is God, show us where there's things in us that we've done wrong. Reveal that to us, because even though what people say isn't true, there are other things that are true. And I remember years ago, and I don't want to get sidetracked here, we are closing, but I remember years ago reading a book by Thomas à Kempis. It's from like the 16th, 17th century. And it was something along the lines of, what if they knew the truth? He was lamenting to God all the things that people in his day, he was a monk, and he was saying, God, they're saying this and this and this. And God says, what if they knew the truth? And he sort of quieted himself. And that's part of my prayer in it too, right? Is God, I'm so thankful they don't actually know me. Because all I am is a sinner saved by grace, right? That's like this, believe it or not, this is my cleaned up version. In Northern Ireland, I will close with this, because it's become a therapy session. It's not at all what I'm trying to do, people. It's really not, guys. I just, it's not at all in my heart to do that. But I felt it was important to at least model something. But in Northern Ireland, I would say, you know, hey, I'm a sinner just like you. And people would say from other churches, they'd say, I've heard other pastors say that, but you're the first one I've believed. Yeah, thank you, I think. All right, go ahead and stand.